Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.
Speaking of great comedy.
Right. David A. Arnold.
Yes.
He's a writer, producer, comedian, actor. You might as well say director too, Producer of Fuller House on Netflix.
Yeah.
Writer on Real Husbands of Hollywood on BET.
Right.
Writer on Kelsey Grammer's Partners on FX.
Right.
Writer on Meet the Browns and House of Pain.
Yeah.
Now he's with us.
Right.
Fresh off his hit comedy special on Netflix.
Yes.
Fat Ballerina, executive produced by Hollywood heavyweight, Hollywood powerhouse Kevin Hart, and tour de force manager Dave Becky of Third Arts Entertainment with Manor House Entertainment. Again, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, without any pre-test, we have on the line, ladies and gentlemen, David A. Arnold. How you doing, David? Can you hear us?
What's up, man? That was the longest introduction that I've ever heard. Like, I was like, who is he talking about? I said, I didn't know none of this stuff.
You didn't know.
I'm fantastic.
Thank you for calling in. We watched your special, Fat Ballerina.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Many times.
Someday you're the bug. Someday you're the bug. Someday you're the windshield. Hilarious, right?
Thank you so much, man. It's so funny when you said, I guess we could throw director in here. That would be true. That special, it's done really well. It's doing really well still. And of course, in part due to the lockdown and everybody being at home, and people are watching it multiple times. But what's great about it is that I actually produced that myself, and I actually was involved in the editing and the directing of it as well. So
we're gonna get to all that.
I thought about that until you actually said it.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I'm glad you guys watched it. I hope you liked it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna get to all that because I have questions for you, right? I have questions for you because first of all, the Cleveland skyline. It's something about coming from Cleveland, Ohio. That Cleveland, Ohio loves where they come from more than I would say most, because I watch a lot of comedy specials, and we come from Cleveland, Ohio, right? And we watch a lot of comedy specials, but to open up, that's how I'm talking to you about it. I'm talking to you about it. Matter of fact, people, you can see us live right now on YouTube on the Film Review Life channel. Also, we're on a certain social media site that doesn't need advertisement, but we're rolling live there now too. And with perfect streaming, and of course we're on Blog Talk Radio where you can hear us, right? Then you'll see all the replays on Spotify, Google Play, all of the podcast platforms. We're on them. All right, so back to the Cleveland skyline, opening up with the Cleveland skyline and then using kind of like a drone shot or maybe After Effects to cut over to the improv.
That was nice.
Improv sign on the west bank of the flats, right? It's beautifully done.
Yeah,
beautifully done. That sets it up because it no matter where you go. I remember a few years ago, before we get into the question, I got to tell this story. Mayweather had his real last fight against Pacquiao, and we went down there to cover it for the Film Review, and I met up with some people just impromptu from Cleveland, Ohio, and it turned into a Cleveland, Ohio party. More than anyone else, everyone was looking at us like it doesn't matter if you come from the northeast side, southeast side, west side, it's all love. And so that right there strikes me at the beginning of it, strikes me in the opening of it, right?
Well, what's so funny about that shot is that shot actually happened by accident. We didn't plan on starting like that. the camera crew that was there filming, and I hired an all Cleveland camera crew. That whole crew that shot that is out of Cleveland too. And I actually, they were outside playing with a drone camera.
Okay.
While they were setting up all of the equipment the day of the shoot. And one of the guys just was like, "Here, check this out." And he showed it to me. I was like, "This is how we should open the show." Mm-hmm. And so we came up on it by accident. And you're right, they did a fantastic job. And they put it together and they cut it nicely. And it's been, it's kind of dope. I enjoy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's go back. I did a lot of research on you. So let's see. You come from out of the Navy. You come out of the Navy. You're a nurse.
Yeah.
You travel. You travel to Los Angeles in an old Nissan Maxima with 2 trash bags of clothes to your name. You land in LA, and the first question, because here on the Film Review, we look to tell the next generation, to give the next generation information. What was your first steps when landing and when driving into LA? What was your first steps to success when you got to LA? What was the first thing that you did?
Well, the first thing I did when I got to LA is I actually didn't have my car. I did have it in Maryland, but by the time I got to LA, I didn't have the car anymore. So my first thing that I did is I got the addresses to the Laugh Factory and to the Comedy Store, which are two of the biggest, most famous comedy clubs in the country. And all I knew is I wanted to be a comedian. I knew that this were the 2 places to start, and so I called and found out where open mic was. I caught the bus up to the club, and you have to, as those days, I think you may still have to do it now, might be a little different, but you have to show up like at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sign up, because 70 people will be out there to get, 15 spots. And you have to get there early and sign up and stand outside for 3 or 4 hours or wait to get on. Uh-huh. And then they would see, you wait 3 or 4 hours to see if you got your name on the list. Then if you got on the list, they would let you come in the club at night at 7 o'clock and do 30 minutes. And so like that was the first thing I did. I didn't know anybody. I knew no one. I just knew I wanted to be a comedian. And I started doing that. And then when I started traveling around the country, I got a chance to, meet more people, but nobody was in town. Everybody that I knew was out of town. I didn't know anybody in LA. So I just went and did the open mic thing, man, until I started meeting people that could help me get a better spot and get here and get there. And that's how I started my whole journey of doing stand-up in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. And so how long was the grind before we see you on Comic View?
Right. The grind don't stop.
Okay, how long was
the grind don't stop. Like you feel relief. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I'm saying like the grind of when you first get to a point where people say, I want you on Shaq's Comedy All Stars, or I want you on Comic View.
Probably 5 years.
5 years.
That was let me see. No, I did Comic View. I did the first time I did Comic View for the first time. Probably 3 years after I started doing stand-up, 2 or 3 years after I started. It never aired. My set never aired, but I remember filming it.
Okay.
But they never played mine. Because that's what they do. They'll film 50 guys and only play 30 of them. That's what they did back then. So the first time I did something might have been 2 or 3 years into doing stand-up. The Shaq thing didn't come till 5 to 7 years in. Mm-hmm. And so but what I did was I just started going to one thing I did is I performed everywhere I could get up. I mean, every comedy club. There's the Ha-Ha, there's the Comedy Union, there's the Ice House. Then there was the Hollywood Park Casino. There was a lot of other places that did comedy, that weren't comedy clubs, that had comedy nights. Mm-hmm. And I just grinded on the Los Angeles comedy circuit for years, just doing stand-up. So when I got a chance to showcase for Missy Shore, who was the owner of the Comedy Store, Pauly Shore's mother, and Jamie Masada, who owned the Laugh Factory, when I showcased for these people, when I finally got my chance to showcase for them, I showcased once, and I got in. Some people showcase for years. Some people showcase 11, 15, 20 times. I did not know it was a big deal, but I showcased one time for Mitzi and got into the main room as a main room comedian right off the bat. That was something that, but it's it's a grind, man. Like even like you said, like it's always a progressive thing. You're always working on something constantly, especially when you're craft and doing stand-up.
Mm-hmm. And then, so how close have you seen that show called I'm Dying Up Here? It's a
I think I was on that.
Yeah, on Showtime.
On Showtime.
Oh no, the TV show. You're talking about the Showtime show.
Yes.
I have friends on the show, but I have not seen the show.
Okay.
I heard about the show.
Because I wanted to see how close to that, what is being produced in on that particular show, is how close it is to actual stand-up life.
Well, I'm sure it's very close because the writers and the producers and all the people that are involved are comedians. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that it's Jim Carrey's show, correct?
Yes, correct.
Isn't Jim Carrey in that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably very close. I mean, I don't know what things in particular struck you. Like if you have more examples, I can tell you. But stand-up is one of those things that I was talking to a friend of mine, Tony Robbins, today. We were talking about how, comedians haven't been out on the road and may not be out on the road for some months now because of the condition we in. And, that's a muscle. That muscle gets, that muscle can get weak after you don't lose it, but it don't be as fighter, razor sharp as it was when you doing it every night. You know what I mean? So, like, for all of us, you miss that. But, because we need to work that. Comedians, we need to tell our story. That's who we are. Because we live inside our heads. And we talk to ourselves. So we got to get it out so we can hear it out loud. So I know, we all can't wait to get back to work.
Okay, so let's go to the production side for a second. What does a producer on a situation comedy do? In film school, they taught us that producers in film try to get everything free. Like get locations free, barter for the location. Say, okay, for this, we're going to give you credit and push people to your location. If it's like a restaurant or something. What does a producer do on a situation comedy?
It depends on what level of producer you are. Some producers write. Some producers get all the people. We need a producer. We need a network. We need writers. We need a showrunner. Some producers get all the ingredients that are needed to make the TV show. They get all those powers that be in one room and find things that work or executive producers, you would even say, are the ones who do that. You know what I mean? Like they'll hire the showrunner. They'll hire the other writing staff. They'll hire the cameraman and the set designer. They set up the meetings and put all the department heads in place. Like that's some of the stuff that some executive producers do. Mm-hmm. And then some executive producers are also writers. There's ones who created the show. Mm-hmm. So you have an executive producer and who's also the writer. So everybody, all the roads are there. It's not as cut and dry as it is in film when you're doing television. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit different of a world. But the titles, each of those titles are an indication of how much money you're making.
Oh, so you were a producer on Fuller House on Netflix. How did you land that?
I went there as a producer, and then I was a supervising producer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how did you land that particular gig and position?
Okay, so there's a TV show that I did before that. It was out for about 25 minutes. It was with Martin Lawrence and Kelsey Grammer called Partners. Okay. That was on FX. Mm-hmm. This show came about by a guy named Bob Boyette, Tom Miller and Bob Boyette. If you know television, Miller Boyette was a huge television production company that created shows like Family Matters, The Hogan Family, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Full House from the 90s. They did the whole Friday night TGIF block on ABC back in the 90s. Like that was it. They were huge. They decided that they were going to At the time, Tyler Perry had made these TV shows, these 1090s, where they shoot 10 and then the network picks them up for 90 episodes.
Okay.
That was the format everybody was trying to do. And I had just come off of working on Full House and House of Pain and Meet the Brown. So I met on this partner show because they were trying to do the same format as Tyler Perry. And they hired me on that show because I was the only one with the experience. So they hired me on that show. That show did 10 episodes and got canceled. Then 2 years later, they decided to reboot Full House, and the same people that did Kelsey Grammer's show also did Full House, and they called me back and asked me to come back and do it. So that's how I ended up over there. So it was like from a relationship from 4 years prior.
So how is it crossing audiences, writing for a predominantly black audience, writing for a mixed audience, or writing for a predominantly white audience? What is that like, and how do you cross those different boundaries?
Well, the food is definitely different on the set, for sure.
Okay.
But you know, I think funny is funny. We laugh at some of the same things. Some of the things are different. And this is what I would say. White people's humor is more sarcastic. That seems to be more of their, they lean into the sarcasm. White people hit you right in the face with jokes. We're very cool. You know what I mean? So when you do it, especially when you're doing stand-up and you're doing it for everybody. I think when I'm on tour, my audiences are very mixed. Everybody's there. And I think it's because of the content that I do. So the biggest difference is it's like playing for a different band or going and work. You find out what's hitting over here. Well, this is what they respond to. Oh, they respond to these kind of jokes. My first season at Fuller House, I sat quietly for half the season, listening to the way that they tell jokes, the way that they speak, what they think is funny, how they do it here. Because I'm funny, I'm going to catch on to it. You know what I mean? And so then I can do that. Whereas when you're doing Meet the Browns, House of Pain, Real House of Hollywood, that's a little bit different because that's, these are your friends, it's right up in that, it's home. It's being home. So it's a little bit different, but neither have been a challenge for me. I'm working on a Nickelodeon show now. Well, I was until we got shut down. With some of the writers that I worked with on Fuller House. They asked me to come work with them on a Nickelodeon show. That'll be coming out next year. So it's the same thing. It's predominantly white show. I'm the only black writer in the room. But it doesn't, that don't bother me because I'm funny to everybody. I can be funny anywhere. You know what I mean? When you're good, comedy is comedy straight across the line. It's different kind of stuff, but hey, I'm playing for this crowd, let me do this. Playing for that crowd, let me do that.
Okay, so let's get to the Fat Ballerina. Now, you had you had a production deal in LA for a show. And then there was a production team that said, yes, we're gung-ho. We're going to come to Cleveland, Ohio and shoot it. And they missed out because they, I guess you could say, flaked out, I would say. And then you came to Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yeah. What happened was I had a television deal. I was creating a television show based on my stand-up. And Kevin Hart was involved in that as well. And when we got the deal, we were literally in production over at BET. We started at Hulu, we ended up at BET. When we were in the production deal, we were literally putting together the scripts for the show. So a production company knew that I had my own TV show coming out, so they wanted to do my special. So they were like, you got a comedian who has a TV show, we got to give this guy a special, and anybody will pick it up. So they pitched over to Cleveland and all this stuff. Well, the TV show got full before we got to air. And when that happened, the production company just started to backpedal. And they went from, oh, we're going to do 2 shows in Cleveland to, we'll do one in Glendale on a Tuesday night, the night before we're filming this other guy, so we'll throw you on before we film this other guy that we're set up to do, if you want. You know what I mean? And so I told my managers that my agent, I wasn't going to do that. Because I knew what that throw you on before another guy meant. That just means, let's just, you know, it wasn't catered for you. It was just, let's see what happens. And I had worked too hard on that material, and I was not going to burn it like that. And my agents told me that if I didn't accept the deal from them, the offer that they, you know, the new offer that they made, and they said I wouldn't do it. And I told them, you tell them I said, fuck them. They don't do it, I'll do it myself. And I went to Cleveland, I called Kevin Arnold, I told him I needed some money, and he gave me the money, and I went to Cleveland, and I shot the special, I edited it, I hired a film crew, we just at Cleveland Improv, we shot 2 shows that night, and we put it together, I gave it to my agent, and Kevin put his name on it, and boom, and it's out there now, and it came out, the gate fire, it trended #1 for 10 days. It was trending, and it did great, man. It was doing great. So I just took a bet on myself. When they told me that they weren't gonna do it, I was like, ain't nobody gonna bet on you more than you are. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you don't believe in you, you can't expect nobody else to. So I took a shot, and it's paid off. And I'm happy to say I've landed another deal now to do another stand-up special. So I'm very excited about that.
So how does it feel that you were able to fly into Cleveland, find a quality film crew that could deliver and actually produce something that, you know, is hilarious? I mean, that is hilarious. That the time, we're gonna get on the editing in a minute, but I'm just talking about the sheer sound quality and the picture quality of it, right? How does it feel that you could drop down into your hometown and grab a crew and say, let's do this, and it's able to be executed?
Well, let me tell you, what we were doing was, like I told you before, I had a TV show. And the TV show that I'm writing and that I am, which is ironically is now being redeveloped again, this same TV show from 4 years ago, we were planning to shoot that show in Cleveland. It's set in Cleveland.
Okay.
And so what I was, at that time, I was in touch with the guy who is the head of the Cleveland Film Commission. He does all of the movies that come to Cleveland. This guy is the guy that's in charge of getting the film crew. He knows the DPs, the directors, prop, sound, any and everything that has to do with film. You know, they film certain parts of the Avengers in Cleveland. Cleveland has done a lot of, I looked at a lot of movies that's been shot in Cleveland. And so I talked to this guy. He actually, he's from here, but he moved to Cleveland to take this job. He was a producer on a TV show called Entourage.
Okay.
He was actually a producer on Entourage back in the day. He took the job in Cleveland to run the Cleveland film crew. So he and I have been talking about film crews to possibly shoot my TV show. So when I decided to shoot the stand-up special, I called him back and I told him what I wanted to do. And he gave me a list of several DPs and people who ran film crews, and I just started doing my work. And I reached out to these guys, and Henry Rapp is his name, Commercial LLC film company, and I've been sending all of their work. I looked at their stuff, and we had several meetings, and I was like, and I pulled the trigger, and I those the guys I chose. And they came in there and rejudged that Improv. If you're not from Cleveland, you wouldn't know that it's the Improv. You know what I mean? And they rejudged that place beautifully, lit it beautifully, and as you can see the sound, they had it was just very, very well done. I told them that it was going to Netflix, so I got all the specs of how it needed to be shot so it would fit the Netflix specs. And we did that shit.
Okay, let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you another thing before we get to the editing, which I know that you directed it. That's why I threw director at the beginning, because I knew that you had to be hands-on to make sure that your message got across to the people. But it's another thing. If it wasn't for my wife, I told her that as we were sitting there, if it wasn't for my wife and seeing beautiful faces, like beautiful female faces, like it took me back to being in Cleveland, because women in Cleveland can have no makeup on, have their hair popped, and still be beautiful. So it's like if I didn't see my wife, then I would be like, oh man, because I would miss that, because you don't see that too often. It might be a Midwest thing, but I know definitely in Cleveland, seeing the women that you had that had the medium shots and the close-up shots on them, it was just like eye candy in the room. And I know that some of it could be, the shots were spontaneous and others looked like they were set up, but still beautiful women in the place. And I have to give you kudos on that, representing Cleveland that way, because, you know, being in other places and you see women, you say, wait a minute, but the beautiful faces, it took me back to being in Cleveland. So I'll say that.
Oh yeah, man. One of the things that a friend of mine who I'm doing my next special with, she said to me, she said the audience looked like a real audience. It looked like real. It didn't look. We didn't, you know, like if you look at a lot of specials that are done, you know, they plant people as well. Don't get me wrong, they're laughing. They're not hired to laugh. But there's an audience, they have an audience crew person that will make sure we have, you know, nice and even in every aspect. You know what I mean? Whatever that is, you know, they do it. We didn't do that. We set the people. A lot of people. I get a lot of jokes about the old lady that's sitting in the front row.
Oh yeah.
Who looks like she is. This is what's hilarious. This woman has become, it's her, and then there's a woman in the middle of the room who has the biggest scowl on her face. Just look like she mad at the world, right? I've had so many people screenshot. They call the camera and go up and take a picture of the old lady to the left, and that lady sitting there back with her hand on her face that look like she pissed off.
Yeah.
And then he sitting there to me going, what did you say to this woman? Because these are real people. It's not like an audience that knows, oh, we're on camera all the time. We can't be, you know, scowling and shit. But
when you were telling, when you were telling the joke about your uncle and being 107, and then the camera cut to the wide angle of her from the side view, and we're looking at it, I'm like, she does not. She was like, people started looking at their own mortality then when you started telling jokes like that.
It was so funny to me. I was cracking up. Like it was hilarious to me when I saw that. But she had a great time actually. She came up to me after the show and just wouldn't stop talking about how great of a time she had. You know what I mean? So like it worked, man. That show, I'm proud of it because it was my answer to somebody telling me no.
Okay.
And I did it myself.
And you did
I
it
went
yourself.
home and I did it.
And
that was the thing. Because I could have very easily said, okay, and went to Glendale up the street here in LA and got what I got and hoped it was okay. But I decided to do something different. I wanted to do what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. And I'm glad that I did it that way because it's worked out to be fantastic.
I interview a lot of comics and they say that they can't really see the audience because of the spotlight. The way that was lit in there, or in general, like, do you remember seeing the faces, or is it after you watched the footage back that you saw that this person looked a certain way or that person looked a certain way, or were the lights blinded?
Yeah, I couldn't see nobody when I was filming. I mean, if you were very close to the stage, like the older lady that was right there, I could see her. She was off to the left a little bit. But anybody in front of me, unless you were in the very front row, second row and back, I can't see nothing. It's all white because the lights are blaring down on you. So that's a whole different, you know.
Okay,
that's a whole different experience.
So now the editing of it, the editing was so concise and precise on it the mixing of the sounds of the laughter and changing scenes, and I could see that you took some jokes and put them out of order to tell a better story. Let's go into the process for people who want to edit comedy or just edit film in general. What were the steps? What did you look at? And then I have a follow-up question of that. What did you look at and say, okay, this is going to go first, this is going to go second, this is the midpoint, and this is going to be the close? How did you decide that?
By the energy. I could tell by the energy. We did move some stuff around. There was 2 shows cut into one. A large percentage of it was pulled from, I think, I don't remember. I'm lying. I know it was one or the other. I can't remember. But like, you want the show to have a progression. There was a big debate on whether I should have ended the show on whether I ended the show on Cut the Grass, the story about my father.
Right.
But I didn't do that. I wanted that to be in the middle, and then I wanted to switch over to some edgier stuff in the second half of the set. So, I mean, it was all about the energy and the way that it flowed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when I shot it, it was only a couple of bits that I really moved. If everything else, 85% of it kind of flowed out the way that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But there was a couple of bits or moments that I moved around, but for the most part, it all flowed out as it organically came out. And I mean, you know, I'm like I said, I'm happy with it. I had an hour and 20 minutes of material,
mm-hmm.
and I had to cut 20 minutes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I cut 20 minutes out, and I'll probably use that in my next special.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, what I like, because I watch a lot of comedy and I've interviewed a lot of comedians, and I noticed that the comedian will have the joke about the grass, and then that is what they close with. They wrap back around to get the audience to laugh, and they say, "Good night, I got you on that. Good night." And so I like the way that you switched it up. That was something fresh. That was something new. You didn't rely on that to be the closing joke. So I commend you on that. I want to say that was great. Now, as far as the last 20 minutes, is it possible that you're going to put out a audio digital, something to go on Apple?
Fat Ballerina?
Yes.
The last 20 minutes that I didn't use.
No. The whole thing. You know, like how Eddie Murphy's Delirious, when you listen to the album, he had material on there that wasn't, he had some of the same material, but what was on the DVD or back then the VHS was different than what was on the album. It like 20-something difference, like he would say.
You know why that is, though, right? You know why that is. That is because what you're listening to is, when you listen to one of those things, one of the Delirious in the Red Suit is filmed at Constitutional Hall in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's in the album I think was filmed at Constitutional Hall, but it was a different night.
Oh, okay.
So you hear the same jokes, but you hear a different, like if you were to watch my raw sets from that night, what you would have seen was me do an hour and 15 minutes the first show, maybe an hour and 10 minutes the second show, and while 80% of it is the same, 20% of it is not. So that's why you hear something different in the television version than you do in the audio version. Because in the television version, they probably only had an hour slotted for that special. In the audio, you can put all hour and 20 minutes out, so you won't hear it roll out a little bit different. That's why. So like all of the stuff that I didn't do on that special, I won't release and I will release it on my next stand-up special. I'm going to take some of that stuff that I didn't do, and I'm going to put it towards my next hour that I'll be working on as soon as I go out on tour, as soon as the country is back in a condition where we can tour again.
Mm-hmm. So, but are you going to put Fat Ballerina out as audio digital on Apple?
Yes. once it's done at Netflix, it has a 2-year run at Netflix.
Okay.
So once it's done there, then we will take it and they give it back to me. That's another great thing about the product situation. I own my material.
Okay.
I get it back in 2 years. So yes, I will then at that time take it and go. You know what I mean? And take it and put it out on a digital platform where it can be, heard, because by that time, hopefully in another year and a half, top 18 months, I'll have a new special out. So people will hear this new special because it'll be out on an even bigger, it'll be out on a platform, but it'll be bigger, it'll be more advertised, because this one that was done was only done by word of mouth.
Right.
And the Netflix didn't really promote it like they do all of it, because it's not a Netflix original. It's licensed by Netflix. So this next one that we're doing there'll be billboards and there'll be commercials, all the stuff that they run and Netflix does. That'll be the difference. So it'll have a bigger audience probably, and it'll bring attention back here to Fat Ballerina for those who missed it.
Now, so how long does it take for you to, because I checked out your YouTube and I heard some of the jokes, to put together a 45-minute to an hour set, how many years does that take to get the material that you're going to say, I'm going to use this, I'm going to scratch that, I'm going to put this together, and this is the set that I'm going to take to do a new special? How many years does that take, or does it just take months?
Well, it depends on what, this is the good news. The good news is, I've been doing this for 24 years. I've been doing stand-up comedy, and I've been doing it pretty much under the radar. This is one of the first biggest stages that I've been on. So a lot of people, like yourself, are going back to YouTube and looking and listening and hearing older stuff. Some of the same jokes, just older versions of it. And when you've been under the radar, I have a arsenal of material that has not been heard on a national stage. So I would normally say that a comedian normally is 2 years in between sets, right? To get you to go from scratch to a brand new set, an hour, a good hour, minimum 2 years. But because I've been doing this for so long and I have so much material that I haven't used, I'm going to go out six to 9 months, and I'll put out my next special. Because some of this stuff will be some things that I've been doing for a long time, but it's never been on the national stage. You know what I mean? So like that, the one after this, it'll probably be it'll be 2 full years.
Okay.
When you go to the next one. But normally I'm gonna say 18 months to 2 years. Everybody's different. Everybody's work process is different. Sometimes you tap into something and it just flows out. It just rolls out of you. It's like Dave Chappelle when he was on hiatus on breaks in 12 years and we didn't see him. He shot 2 stand-up specials just because he was in a creative space. And he was like, fuck it, I need to record this stuff and get it recorded and capture it while it's fresh in my head. And he did that, and then when he did come back and surface up, Netflix came to him and gave him $20 million, and he had 2 specials that he could release back to back that he had shot 5 years ago. It was great because nobody had seen it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing with us. That's also what kills our craft, is why we have to take your phones now when you come and watch us perform. If people don't understand that it takes, and all those jokes that you saw me do, or that you see, I've done those jokes 500,000 times. And that's why they get sharp the way they do. That's why the callbacks are as good as they are. Because I've been working on it again and again and again. But had you saw that joke 18 months ago, it might not be as tight as it was. And then if somebody gets a video of it and then they put it out, he ain't that good. But I'm just, goddamn, we just started. Let me get this shit right. Nobody told you to take the video and send the shit out to the world. It ain't ready yet. So that's how comedians are now. You know what I mean? Because people don't understand the process of storytelling and getting it to where it's there, where it's airtight and flawless. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So what is
that, everybody's different.
Mm-hmm. So what is your 5-year plan? What's your 5-year goal? Where you want to be in 5 years?
I will have another stand-up special out, and I'll be working on my third. I will have my television show will be in its second or third season of my own show based on my stand-up. I will have executive produced, and created 2 other shows that I have nothing to do with, other than the fact that I've created them and helped write the pilots and get them off the ground. And let me see, what else? My book on stand-up will be out, because I teach the largest stand-up comedy class in the country.
Yeah, talk about that. Talk about that for a second. Let the people know about that.
I started teaching a stand-up class about 10 years ago. It's called The Art of Standup Comedy. People who don't know me, you can follow me on Instagram at David A. Arnold or David A. Arnold on YouTube, on Facebook. But I started teaching a stand-up class about 10 years ago because I'm a huge fan of the art, and I saw a lot of young comedians out here doing stuff and doing it the wrong way. And nobody taught me and helped me and showed me anything when I moved to LA. I did it all by myself. So when you do it all by yourself, I was in a position to go, I'm going to help other people if I can. And that's what I started doing. I started teaching a class, and you can't teach anybody to be funny, but you can teach them the skills and the tools that I use to build my act. And that was 10 years ago. I do it on and off around my production schedule and around my tour. And it is the largest, most successful stand-up comedy class in the country. There's well over 350 people on my waiting list. I can't get to all of them. I only do 20 people a pop. And the class, when I open it up, sells out within 2 hours, all 20 seats. And it's just me talking about my experiences and working with comics. I do it online. I do it, I work with people online. I work with people, in-house as well. Celebrities that work on celebrities that taken my class. I have people who are now doing very well that took my class. So it's, it's just another, I feel like that's kind of my way of getting back to the art that I love so much.
So
the art of stand-up comedy is a dope thing for me.
So the Art of Stand-Up Comedy book is also within your 5-year plan. The actual book.
Yeah, the book is written. I will release the book here. That's something that I'm going to be working on during this shutdown while we're here. One of the things that I'm working on. So I'm self-published the book for sure.
Self-published. See, people from Cleveland often know how to go behind the scenes. Like, I'm a person who produced music, and I had to go learn how to take the sticky labels off, get the frost on the cassettes when it was cassettes, learn where to get the vinyl, learn where to press the CDs, learn where to press the DVDs. And Cleveland people are like that because we have a lot of talent, but it's not a lot of outlets for the talent. So you have to really do it yourself. So I've heard you speak before about comics doing something that they shouldn't be doing. What is one of the top things that comics, when they first come out to LA, that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing that's pretty much a waste of their time?
Trying to look for an agent immediately and a manager. You ain't got nothing to manage your agent. Get funny. Get to the point where everybody in town is talking about you. Then you can get to a place where you can start going to meetings and, because funny is what's going to get you seen. For me, one of the biggest things that helped me was social media. Now we got a whole different world out here that we didn't have when I was doing stand-up in the beginning. The world can see you now. Last year I had 1,800 followers. Today I got over 700,000 on Instagram and Facebook. Because I started posting my videos and rants, my family, all my stuff. And it just went like wildfire. And that audience that I built, just sharing my comedic voice, was one of the things that helped launch my stand-up special when it came out on Netflix. because I was able to reach out and tell at that time it was 650,000 followers, that I had a special coming on. Y'all go watch it. All 650,000 of them told another 650,000, who told 300,000, and it just kept going. So that's how you gotta build an audience. You gotta get a voice. So you don't need to worry about no agent and no manager and all that. Get a voice, find a comedic voice, be funny, let your peers start talking about you. And if somebody really sees something in you, they'll go, hey man, they'll tell their manager, hey man, my manager is Kevin Hart's manager. Mm-hmm. And I got my manager because Kevin Hart said, Dave, I need you to see this dude. Mm-hmm. And I only got there because I got to the place where I was funny. Mm-hmm. And Kevin saw me. And Kevin, we literally performed at a club one night. He went up, got a standing ovation. I went up after him, and I got a standing ovation. And then he called me that night as we both were driving home. He came to the club that night with all the Clippers. It was like 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. With all the Clippers. And, you know, and I'm in the corner just trying to get my set done. Kevin's a huge star. We've been friends for 15, 17 years. But that night I went on stage and I came up after Kevin, and Kevin saw it. He saw the work that I had been putting in at that time for 17 years. And he was like, dude, it's time. You need to be seen. And that's when he called his manager, and 2 weeks later, his manager was at the club watching me. Mm-hmm. And that is that set that you probably saw on YouTube where I'm in the pink shirt.
Okay.
And it's a 30-minute set of David A. Arnold The Laugh Factory. That is that night that Kevin introduced me to his manager, and that is who is now my manager, and that's where the Netflix special came from, and that's where the TV show and the development, and now this new one, and all the things that we're doing is now happening, started from that night. You know, which was a big night for me. So, you know, that's what people need to worry about. They don't need to worry about, you know, get the agent and the manager. You get good, they gonna find you, especially the right one.
Mm-hmm. So, I know you probably ask this all the time, but I'm going to ask it in a different way because I've asked many comedians the same question because we always need to know. Who is your all-time top 5 comedians? It doesn't matter race, because I noticed that most comedians, they really name Lenny Bruce as one, so they pretty much speak on comedy as just being good. Yeah. So who are your all-time top 5?
All-time top 5 comedians. Mm-hmm. Bill Cosby, okay. Richard Pryor, mm-hmm. Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, Jerry Seinfeld, okay. is one of the best storytellers to me. Dave Chappelle was great now. Then there's people.
Oh, you can go longer because Bruce.
Roberts.
Yeah,
Roberts is a great comedian. Mm-hmm. Rodney Perry is a great comedian. Chris Spencer is one of the best I've ever seen off the top of my head. Like, those are people that everybody might not know right off the bat by saying their names because they're fantastic. Eddie Murphy to me did one of the most perfect sets ever. Delirious was probably one of the most perfect stand-up comedy sets I've ever seen. He only did 2, really. He did 3. He did Comedian, which was the album that only came out as an album. Mm-hmm. But like when you look at comedians and bodies of work, when you look at somebody like Bill Cosby, who stands, like to me that's a comedian whose work spanned years, who was able to be funny in every decade of his life. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You know what I mean? Seinfeld, who's been funny, who walked away and came back 20 years later and was able to find a new voice. You know, Richard Pryor, who was funny over decades. Like, to me, that obviously Lenny Bruce and George Carlin are also those, you know, it's all Ellen DeGeneres. Wanda Sykes is incredible. Okay. At what she does. She's very good. Mm-hmm. You know, so like there's so many people that you can just name for so many different reasons. You know, Dave Chappelle is just great because what's great about Dave to me is Dave has his finger on the pulse of who he is and what he believes. He does what Dave does, and he's very good at what Dave does. You know what I mean? And so, like, I respect that. I respect a comedian who knows his craft. So, it's hard. Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby were the ones that inspired me when I was coming up because I was a kid. And I watched them them and Eddie Murphy, I watched them make my parents laugh.
Okay.
And when you see people make people who normally is cussing you out laugh, that's when you go, oh, they have a power that I, like, you know what I mean? Like, to see your father and mother and aunts and uncles who normally tell you, don't sit your little ass down, anybody talking to you, they always telling you no. They just voice the discipline. To see these people reduced to laughter was something that I had never seen. And the only people I saw do that was Eddie, Bill, and Richard. So therefore, they probably had that biggest impact on me. But now, now that I am a comedian and I see it through a different lens, I also see other people and why they're great too, for different reasons. So I think that would have to be my broad answer.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate that because I noticed that the comics go. I interviewed Lunel, and she said she gave me the 5 because usually I break down by the black comics, right? But she said, wait a minute now. There's the white comics, and she went through a whole nother list. Then she went through females. And so the list is broad. So I would probably say a top 20. I should start saying top 20, but I keep it at 5. Okay, I can't believe that we are almost an hour in. So what I'm going to do right now is ask you to give all of your social media. Tell them about TikTok and Freeze Man, where they can hear you real quick. We got 4 minutes, and tell them exactly where they can see you, where they can see the stand-up Fat Ballerina on Netflix. You have to see this. This stand-up is hilarious. The timing, the angles, the editing, the sound, the picture, just excellent. Everything comes together. The Cleveland skyline, we love it. So tell them where they can reach out to you.
Well, you can find, anytime you Google David A. Arnold, you'll find me across. All my stuff will come up. But if you don't put in the A, you're going to get the white man that does all the soundtracks of Jay and Buck.
Okay.
There's nothing. You got to put in David A. Arnold. I'm the David A. Arnold on Instagram. I'm David A. Arnold on Facebook. I'm David A. Arnold on Twitter. TikTok, I'm David A. Arnold. We got jerked out on there 2 days ago because of my daughters. And if you go to you can go to davidarnold.com and see my website. You'll probably eventually be able to hear this interview there. I will put it up on there and all of the things that I'm doing. Fat Ballerina is streaming on Netflix. If you put in David A. Arnold, it'll pop up. And I'm hoping that everybody will come out and, when I come to your city and you see me on tour, when you go to comedy clubs and back up and running, you Google my name and look up my date. I'll be out there. I just want people to want to come see me perform when I come to their town. And I'm so excited about working on this new hour, this new set. I'm very excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it.
And we're excited.
Yeah, we are.
We're excited to see. Go ahead. Let me let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that, and that's it. I'm developing I'm redeveloping the television show that we were working on 4 years ago. It's got new life in it because the new partners that me and Kevin Hart that have come aboard now to do my special is also developing my TV show. I'm not going to say who it is, but I can tell you that she is a powerhouse.
Okay.
And she's now on the team. So it will be her and Kevin Hart presenting my next stand-up special as well as my television show. So we'll see what happens and win it all, but I'm just excited about everything that's to come. And I just ask people to follow me and reach out. And I went live today with my mother on Instagram, and it was phenomenal. I'm going to post it on my YouTube page, which is also David A. Arnold, and you can go there and see all my old stand-up. But I'm about to start posting some stuff on YouTube that'll be longer form content, kind of like talk showish kind of stuff that I'm going to do while we're in quarantine. So I can have a way to talk to my fans and continue to keep my chops up and keep my comedic voice out there to everybody. So they can look for that very soon. And you know, I'm working at it. I'm very happy I'm trying to make the best of this time that I'm here with my family at home, and you know, just be productive while I'm here.
No, well, we appreciate you and your ability to tell stories.
Yeah.
Top notch. That's 10. We're gonna rate it right now. I already said.
Yeah.
Sound quality 10.
Yeah.
Angles 10.
Yeah.
The image, the picture 10.
Yeah.
The delivery, the pacing 10. The movement along the stage, interacting with the people 10. As a comedian.
Yeah.
We loved it. We enjoyed it.
Storytelling team.
The story, yeah. And we enjoyed it. We loved it. We look forward to seeing what you're doing next. We want to see you in movies. We want to see you go all the way to the top because you are from Cleveland, Ohio, and we know that work ethic because we push hard. Yeah. And so we want to say thank you, and we appreciate you calling in. Yeah. And hopefully once this all breaks, we can sit down with the lights, camera, with the mics, and get an on-camera interview with you.
We look forward to your tour. Also.
100%.
So we're going to...
I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, thank you. And have a great evening.
And bless you. God bless you and your family.
Y'all, thank you very much. Y'all be good now.
Thank you.
You too.
The Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching The Film Review.